The old adage is it took 11 spinners to keep one weaver going. So spinning has to be an ongoing process for me. So I'm just going to take this roving and I'm going to just kind of start putting it on the carding machine now. So I'm just kind of spreading this all out and using the carding machine now so I can blend all these different colors that I dyed up. So now I can actually take it and spin. I'm not spinning a really fine line because this will go into some kind of a rug. And this is I let some of these imperfections go through. I'm not spinning for knitters, I'm spinning for my weaving. So I like all the texture. So this weaving, I'm using hand-spun wool that I have done. I love to spin my own. I spin a very textured yarn, not appropriate for knitting for most people. And I like it because it's full of texture, and I purposely leave bits and pieces in there to add to the texture and all the color variations. I'm using a technique called Clasp, and it's a type of weaving structure that I am able to pick up these. You can see the design is, I can make the design go all over the board with this, or I can have it more symmetrical and somewhat organized in my mind. So for me, so much now is enjoyment and just seeing what I can end up putting together with different kinds of colors and textures. I took some weaving classes back in 1973 to date myself, and ever since then, everything is self-taught. A lot of new techniques I find just by delving into Pinterest and seeing what other people are doing and then figuring out what they were doing. I do a lot of things by kind of the seat of my pants. I do not keep records. I rarely design ahead of time unless I'm doing a commission. I just like to get at the loom and let it just kind of go. Well, I took that class in 1973 and haven't stopped. Even during all the days when I was raising kids and working full time, I kept on weaving. And then as the kids got older, I was able to weave more. And I started doing shows so that I could sell enough to keep supplying myself. And then eventually sell enough so I can do other things. And now it funds me in doing a lot of things. So now I'm at a point in time where I'm enjoying weaving, and I know the things that I can make to sell, and I know the things that I make for me or for my enjoyment, and things that I want to be doing. And I get great pleasure from everything now. And being part of the community up here, the arts community, being an instructor in North House, being on the studio tour that happens up here in Cook County, and part of other groups like North Shore Artists League. It's so nice to be in essentially a welcoming community that is nurturing and whatnot, and you feel like I found my folks, I found my people. So as I do this, it's really fun to see where bits and pieces of color pop up, like this big splotch of orange. For this particular style of rug, I do each row has 2 threads in it to be able to hook all the clasps, the yarns together. So it makes it thicker than if I'm just doing plain. You have all that, and then you go into, the weaving of it. So this particular thing, you can see while you've just been here, I've woven, about 6-8 inches? Weaving's also a great way to take care of all of your frustrations and various other kinds of stress by beating hard. It's a sociably acceptable manner. So on this loom, this is my big heavy-duty loom. It's a Glimåkra. It comes from Sweden. When I got it, it came in several boxes and pieces. The instructions were mostly Swedish, and luckily there were a lot of pictures. And so I put this loom together, and I used it for doing, it's done everything from simple scarves to the big pieces like bedspreads or big rugs, depending. At one point, it was the only loom I had, so it did everything. But this pattern style is called Krokbragd, and it is a Scandinavian pattern. And it takes 3 passes to create 1 row. And I use the pick just to make sure that I'm getting it well packed in. That even though I am beating on it with the beater, it sometimes needs just that extra bit of help. And I really love doing this design with my hand-spun wool. It also weaves faster because it's thick. But basically, I'm going to be doing 1 inch in this kind of color thing here, and then I will introduce another color. So the idea is that the colors will transition from a light blue to a darker set of colors, and then mass in the center, and then have it come back, be symmetrical. I love seeing what other people are doing. It gives me ideas. I can also just kind of look out my window here and get a whole ton of ideas just looking at. I keep wanting to come up with ways to incorporate the colors of my surroundings. I can sit and look out and see nature's color palette and have it give me ideas. I have an abundance of wool. I've had people move away, or I've had people downsizing, and somehow I end up with their stashes. So I haven't spent a fortune in materials lately just because I keep getting everybody else's. My goal is to keep using this up just so that my children one day will not have the joy of having to figure out what to do with everything. I keep saying that when I use up my stash, I'll quit weaving, but the problem is I keep getting more, so you can see it's a slow progression. And as I do it, my mind's already many rows ahead of what I want to do with the design. I tell people when I'm teaching that with weaving, you're really only limited by your imagination.